Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a question that, well, it feels more relevant than ever in our digital world. Do online personas actually match up with reality?
Especially when you see relationships forming and then, well, dramatically falling apart, all in the public eye for millions to watch.
Exactly. And it raises so many questions about, authenticity, perception. Where do those lines even blur anymore?
It's a messy intersection, for sure. And that's really what we're diving into today.
Absolutely. Our mission here is to sift through a pretty complex and honestly captivating online saga. We want to pull out the key insights, the nuggets of knowledge from this whole whirlwind.
Right. We're focusing on that cheating scandal involving the self-improvement guru wizard Liz and her ex-fiance Landon.
Yeah, and our sources for this deep dive, it's basically a pile of YouTube video transcripts, redirect notices, public posts, private messages. It's a lot. We're trying to make sense of these shifting stories from a very, very public breakup.
Okay, so let's set the stage, the people involved. First, wizard Liz.
Right. Huge YouTube presence, over 8 million subscribers. Known for that very blunt, confidence-boosting advice, as it especially helps people please.
Yeah, her whole brand is about getting yourself out of tough spots.
Yeah.
And she's been quite open about her own past, trauma, mentioning things like her father's abuse and infidelity and wanting that stable father figure.
Okay, and then there's Landon Nickerson, her ex-fiance.
His online presence is, well, much smaller, like maybe one Fortnite video a year kind of.
Yeah. But they were presented, or at least perceived, as this, perfect couple for a while. Remember those TikToks?
Oh, yeah, the current husband versus forever husband thing.
Exactly. Fans ate that up. It seems so genuine, like a real fairy tale romance playing out online.
Well, that fairy tale image just completely shattered publicly. Liz went on to her Instagram stories and revealed Landon cheated on her via Snapchat.
Wow.
She was 4 months pregnant.
Wow. And her posts were just raw emotion, right? Like fucking furious, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep.
Totally. Just gut-wrenching stuff. And the Snapchat details she shared were pretty damning.
Yeah, walk us through that. He was trying to meet up with another girl, Peyton.
Right. And Peyton, who was actually a longtime follower of Liz, sent Liz the screenshots. Landon straight up lied about his relationship status.
What did he say?
Things like, no, plus just looking for friends, and describing his relationship with Liz as, it's a complicated long-distance internet thing, but no, I'm not married.
Oh, come on. Complicated internet thing. When they're living together, she's pregnant.
Exactly. He even apparently called the relationship fake, despite, her cats, her stuff, their unborn child, all very real parts of his life.
Just wild. And Peyton exposing him is a key detail here.
Definitely. So Liz's initial reaction, besides the understandable fury, was also quite powerful. She put out statements like, thank God for what I found out today. I've been through worse. This will not break me. And women choose yourself and walk away the first time.
That got a lot of support, didn't it? People were really rallying around her.
Hugely. And then she promised to sell her engagement ring, apparently worth $100,000, and donate $50 to single mothers. People were praising her, saying she handled it like a queen.
Okay, so Liz makes her stand. Then Landon responds.
He does, with these public apology videos. Which, interestingly, got deleted pretty quickly.
What was the gist of those?
Well, he admitted to making a mistake, but then, kind of strangely, asked for understanding, not forgiveness. Said he still loved Liz with his entire heart.
Understanding, not forgiveness. That's an interesting angle for an apology.
Right. And he blamed it on a moment of weakness, seeking validation. But the delivery seemed off to many people.
How so?
Well, for one, apparently he was, eating during one of the apologies, which didn't exactly scream sincerity.
Cheating? Okay, yeah, that's not a great look.
No. And the internet immediately jumped on it, comparing him to, Joe Goldberg from the Joe Goldberg of the internet.
Oof, that's rough.
And he denied lying about cheating, but then deflected by saying their marriage wasn't technically legal. So it was fake in some way, but real in every other way.
Wow. Okay, so lots of justification, maybe not a ton of straightforward accountability there.
That's how it landed for a lot of people, which brings up a really interesting point for, anyone watching this kind of public drama unfold. What actually makes an apology feel real versus just manipulative?
That's a great question. I mean, the lack of clear remorse, the eating thing, the justifications, they all felt like red flags, didn't they? Even before more stuff came out.
Absolutely. Genuine apologies usually involve direct accountability, not just trying to explain away the behavior or worse, lame semantics like technically legal.
Right. Okay, so that's Landon's initial response. But then things took another major turn when someone else came forward.
Abby, Landon's ex-girlfriend from 2023 to 2024. She stepped forward and basically blew the lid off what she called his alleged patterns of abuse and manipulation.
And her claims were incredibly serious.
Extremely. She talked about physical and mental abuse, alleging he laid his hands on her, punched holes in walls, cornered her, just really frightening behavior.
God, that's awful. And she mentioned losing a baby while he was cheating on her.
Yeah. And what makes this even more complex and frankly chilling is how she talked about her own past trauma.
Right. She mentioned identity theft, being locked in a closet, beaten badly enough to go to the ER. Horrible stuff.
Horrible. And she claimed Landon initially made her feel so loved, so seen, so heard, so understood, that he essentially exploited, in her words, her unresolved wound from her parental figures.
Which connects back to Liz's own trauma she'd shared.
Exactly. Abby mentioned having a disorganized attachment style, meaning struggles with trust due to past instability and a severe codependent issue. She felt Landon targeted these vulnerabilities.
That's a deeply unsettling pattern, if true, exploiting someone's deepest wounds.
And it didn't stop there. Abby also alleged that Landon convinced her she had borderline personality disorder, BPD. He even found a therapist supposedly specializing in it. But then, according to Abby, the therapist told her she didn't have BPD at all.
Wow. So potential gaslighting with a fake diagnosis, that's a known tactic in manipulative relationships, trying to make the partner doubt their own reality.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this leads into the whole love bombing aspect, which Abby really highlighted.
How so? What did she describe?
She said Landon did these grand gestures, wrote her a book, a song, sent thousands of flowers every time he messed up.
Wait, that sounds familiar. Didn't Liz mention Landon writing her a whole book about why he loved her?
Right.
And funding that app for her?
Exactly the same playbook. Abby herself apparently said to Liz, or implied, "You're just getting love bombed." It wasn't unique special treatment for Liz. It was allegedly his standard operating procedure, a calculated pattern.
That reframes those grand gestures completely. Not spontaneous love, but maybe a tactic.
And then the stalking allegations came out, which are genuinely disturbing.
Stalking? What happened there?
Abby recounted Landon following her across continents.
Yeah.
After they broke up, she went to Atha, and he showed up there, making it seem like, oh, it's a sign from the universe they ran into each other. But she hadn't told him where she was. She was even with a new guy.
How did he even find her?
She described him just appearing in a Sephora in Ibiza before that, begging her to take him back. Again, she hadn't shared her location. It suggests some serious tracking.
That's terrifying. And wasn't there something about her therapist?
Yes. This is maybe the most extreme part. Abby alleged Landon tracked down her therapist to Miami to try and convince the therapist to help get Abby back together with him.
Finding her therapist, that crosses so many lines. It's incredibly invasive and obsessive.
It really points to a dangerous level of fixation. And it lines up with other claims, like him allegedly cyber-stalking Liz at an airport. His tech background could potentially be used for that kind of thing.
Okay, so Abby lays out this incredibly detailed, disturbing account with receipts alleging abuse, manipulation, love bombing, stalking. You'd think this would solidify Liz's position against Landon, right?
That's what everyone expected. But then came the twist that just baffled everyone. Liz started publicly defending Landon.
Defending him? After all that, how?
Well, first, Abby claimed she'd actually texted Liz earlier, trying to warn her about Landon, but got no response. Then Liz apparently claimed Abby had blocked her, which Abby denied, and said Liz offered no proof. So right away, there's conflicting stories about their communication.
Okay, so some back and forth denial there. What else?
The engagement ring store changed. Remember the promise to sell it and donate $50?
Yeah, the queen move.
Suddenly, Liz was saying she was not allowed to legally sell it and was just going to give it back to Landon.
Wait, why couldn't she legally sell it? That seems odd. And a total reversal.
Exactly. The reasoning wasn't clear, and it created a lot of confusion and suspicion. She then tried to pivot, saying, okay, fine, I am donating $50K of my own money.
Okay, so she still made the donation, but the whole ring thing felt shady? Like backtracking?
That's how many perceived it. And then there was this statement Liz made, something like, I can't even try to heal or think about me having the baby because I have to worry about my ex hurting himself.
How did people take that?
Some saw it as Liz centering Landon's feelings, maybe even subtly gaslighting Abby and her own audience by shifting the focus away from the alleged abuse and infidelity towards Landon's potential self-harm.
Right, making herself seem like the caretaker for the guy who wronged her, instead of focusing on her own healing or the warnings from Abby.
Precisely. Meanwhile, Landon wasn't staying quiet either. He fired back at Abby.
Oh boy. What did he claim?
He threatened to sue her, obviously, and then he basically accused her of being everything she accused him of: toxic, manipulative, abusive, lying, cheating, and narcissistic.
A classic reversal tactic, some might say. Did he offer proof?
He alleged she physically abused him, showing some pictures of bruises, but there was zero actual evidence linking them to Abby. He called her pregnancy fraudulent and fake, accused her of meeting sugar daddies, and even claimed she wished miscarriages on his future partners.
Whoa, those are incredibly serious accusations, especially the miscarriage one.
Absolutely vile stuff. He also tried to claim he saw Abby's therapist first, trying to undermine her stalking claim.
Okay, so just throwing everything at the wall. How did his evidence stack up against Abby's?
Well, the general consensus online, looking at the receipts Abby provided versus Landon's claims, was that his evidence seemed incoherent and inconclusive. Abby's narrative was detailed, consistent, and backed by screenshots and timelines. His felt more like angry deflection.
Right. The quality of the proof seemed very different.
Definitely. And all of this chaos, Liz defending Landon, Landon attacking Abby, it led a lot of people online to start talking about the narcissist theory.
Okay, what's the idea there?
The theory, or speculation really, floated by commentators, was that maybe both Liz and Landon exhibit narcissistic traits, specifically covert narcissism.
Covert narcissism, meaning less outwardly grandiose, more victim-playing, or subtly manipulative.
Kind of. The idea proposed was that sometimes narcissists attract each other because they, validate one another's sense of grandiosity. They mirror each other, and they're both apparently prone to things like love bombing.
So the theory suggests Liz might have initially accepted Landon's grand gestures, thinking, well, of course he'd do this for me, I'm special.
Right. Until Abby's story came out and showed, hey, this isn't special treatment, it's just his script. It shatters that unique feeling.
And does the theory explain Liz defending him?
But one aspect of narcissism often discussed is demanding absolute loyalty. So when Liz's audience started questioning her or correcting her for defending Landon, her turning on them could, according to this theory, fit that pattern, defending the partner, attacking the critics.
Interesting perspective. Whether it's accurate or not, it's clear her actions had a massive impact on her brand.
Oh, undeniably. Huge backlash. Fans, commentators, just the general public started really questioning her credibility. Was she actually living the empowerment message she preached? Did she walk the walk?
Yeah, that quote, imagine destroying a brand you've built for years around empowering women just to side with this kind of man. That really summed up the feeling for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it brought up hypocrisy allegations, too. She'd preach against materialism, but her Instagram was full of designer bags, luxury watches.
Right, creating a disconnect between the guru persona and the lifestyle posts.
It all felt very contradictory to the brand she'd built.
It's just such a messy, complicated situation, all playing out so publicly.
And, amidst all this drama, there was another voice, another ex of Landon's.
What did she say?
She chose to remain anonymous, but released what many called a very classy response. She basically acknowledged the pain, but said she wouldn't share her specific experiences publicly, stating that situations like this are best handled privately.
Wow. That's a stark contrast in approach, isn't it? A real moment of maturity amidst the chaos.
It really highlighted a different way to handle deeply personal, painful events.
So zooming out, looking at all the pieces, Liz's initial posts, Landon's apologies, Abby's detailed allegations, Liz's reversal, Landon's counterclaims.
Yep.
What's the big picture here?
Well, connecting all those dots, especially with Abby's evidence of repeated behaviors across relationships, it strongly suggests Landon's actions weren't just a one-off mistake or a moment of weakness, as he claimed.
It looks much more like a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior.
Exactly, which really underscores the importance for you, the listener, of recognizing these kinds of patterns. Love bombing, gaslighting, extreme reactions, cycles of idealization and devaluation. These aren't just random events.
Right. This whole deep dive really exposes how fragile those online personas can be. The curated image versus the often very messy private reality.
Totally. That line gets incredibly blurred.
So what's the main takeaway for someone listening to this? What should you be thinking about?
I think it really hammers home the importance of trusting your gut. Recognizing red flags, even when things seem almost too perfect. those extravagant gestures. Sometimes they are just gestures, but sometimes, as we saw here potentially, they're part of a calculated, manipulative playbook.
It's a powerful reminder to look beyond the surface, question the narrative, especially when it feels too good to be true.
Definitely. Which leaves us with a final thought to maybe chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
In this era where personal lives just explode online, where every detail is shared, dissected instantly, what's our responsibility as people consuming this content, maybe even participating in the discussion?
You mean our responsibility in demanding truth and accountability?
Yeah, that. But also, how do we balance that with respecting the fact that these are real, complicated human beings and relationships behind the screens, however flawed they might be? Where's that line?
That's a really good question, something to definitely think about long after this deep dive ends. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Absolutely, it was a lot to unpack.
It really was. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.